I so appreciate having the help tonight with the music. I'm realizing as I'm up here listening that what Hazan does more than anything is keep tempo for all of us. I've got some conflicting things going on in here, and I love it. I love everyone who's singing. Thank you so much for participating. I wanted to tell you a little bit tonight about something that I saw on the news. There's a Hebrew saying that's currently being plastered all over Israel. Kol kol kovea. Every vote decides. Has anyone ever heard this? Kol kol kovea. Israelis know this very well, though. They are traditionally one of the most politically engaged nations on earth. So why do they need this reminder? Why do they need to be nudged into remembering that their voice matters? Well, in a few days, Israelis will return to the polls for the third time in a year. And this typically engaged nation seems unhopeful that this election will resolve the deadlock, as people are already discussing a possible fourth election. Yizhar Carmen, an Israeli activist, has named what Israelis are feeling and called it acquired political helplessness. He says that Israelis who for generations have treasured their democracy are now grappling with the realization that no matter how they vote, the country will probably still be deadlocked. Acquired political helplessness. New York Times columnist asked, is this election more Groundhog Day or an episode of Twilight Zone? A Sartre novel or a Beckett play? Israelis are starting to lose hope that their voices count. They're having election fatigue. And here's the thing, they're not alone. The way most American Democrats talk about the primary elections also rings of political fatigue. Trying to balance candidates they like and those they think might win. Many people this week alone have told me they're simply not participating in this important step of our democratic process. I love hearing the oi gewalt sound of the congregation. I'm glad you're with me in my heart. But here's the thing. Similarly, some of our congregants feel the same way about the World Zionist Congress elections. I've heard from some that because I already spoke about it once from the pulpit, I should leave it alone. And almost everyone I ask tells me that they've already voted. And yet there have been less than 20 votes logged from our area. I bring it up tonight, not simply as a reminder to vote, but because we here at Sinai are our own microcosm of political fatigue. And the antidote to political fatigue is more ownership. In a series of experiments that came to be known as the IKEA effect, behavioral economist Dan Ariely found we attribute more value to that which we help create ourselves. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs posits that this is why God gave us instructions for building the Mishkan in this week's Torah portion. He writes, the Mishkan was the first thing the Israelites made, first thing in the wilderness, and it marks a turning point in the Exodus narrative. You see, up until now, God had done all the work. God had struck Egypt with plagues. God had taken the people out to freedom. God had divided the sea and brought them across on dry land. God had given them food from heaven and water from a rock. Now God instructed Moses to take the people through a role reversal. Instead of God doing this for them, they are commanded to make something for God. And Rabbi Sachs says this was not about God. God does not need a sanctuary, a home on earth. For God is everywhere. This was about humans and their dignity and their self-respect. And because it involved their work, their energy, and their time, they invested something of themselves, individually and collectively, in it. So in this season of voting, it becomes incumbent upon us to involve ourselves in such an active way that we find value again in political activity. So how do we double down? How can we personally remember kol kol kovea, every vote decides, and get involved so that whatever it is we feel or think, We are active in affecting society and shaping the future. I don't believe any of us will be able to vote in the Israeli election on Monday, but there's still plenty we can do. I'm going to read a list of statements, and if they're true for you, please raise your hand for a moment. I have read a book or a newspaper article about a political issue that I care deeply about. I've written a letter or lobbied my senators or representatives. I've written a letter or lobbied my local elected officials. I give money to tzedakah. I have donated to a charity that focuses on a cause I care deeply about. I participate in community service projects on a regular basis. I have attended a rally or demonstration. I have written a letter to the editor of a newspaper. I've done some form of advocacy around a piece of legislation. I plan to vote the next chance I get. I've taught somebody else about the social justice issues that I care about. I believe I can influence my congresspeople's vote on legislation. My Judaism informs my political positions, or my religion, whatever it may be, informs my political positions. My opinions can make a difference. I can change the world. That is too few hands. Hands should be up because you can change the world. You can take ownership over your role in the political process, and you can make a difference. One way to get involved in politics in America is by going to DC and lobbying your representatives in person. This weekend, 7 of our Temple Sinai teens will be doing just that. And along with this group of remarkable kids going on the Kahn Jewish Advocacy Workshop, DC will be covered this weekend with American pro-Israel activists as it's once again time for AIPAC's policy conference. Now, I know AIPAC isn't something you've heard a lot about from the Bima in this congregation over the years, but no matter who you believe should be president of this country or prime minister of Israel, we should all care deeply about continuing the valuable political partnership between America and Israel. So for this, I praise all who are going and stepping up this weekend. And if you couldn't get to DC this weekend, that's okay too, because I'd like to remind everyone that Tel Aviv's own Rabbi Meir Azari will be here this Thursday night, here at Temple Sinai, to give us a breakdown of what the election results mean for Israel and American Jews, what results mean for religious pluralism in Israel, and what Israelis are thinking about the US election. If you've seen this very loud and vibrant flyer, but didn't stop to pick it up, this is the one with information about Rabbi Meir Azari's visit. On your way out, if you're interested, please pick one up. Come and join us. Attending this wonderful program, educating yourself more on what's happening, and having the opportunity to ask questions is a great way to get involved in these important political conversations. And because I mentioned pluralism in Israel, you guessed it, I might as well go back to the comment I made that we've not had even 20 votes logged for the World Zionist elections. Voting reform is as important as ever. And I am not going to stop asking you to do it or reminding you to do it until the election's over or until we have at least 200 votes logged, whichever comes first. So we have plenty of room to go. We do have a little less than 2 weeks left of the election, and I've been asked to step up for this final push to get out the vote. FYI, I've been told the voting process has been simplified now and will only require 1 voting pin, not 2. So it really does take under 90 seconds now. But I know you've heard this already. So how can we move from fatigue to energize for voting reform? Well, tonight as you entered the sanctuary, you each received a card reminding you to vote reform and a paper ballot. I saw some people taking them out and leaving them on the table. You should all have both of these in your hands. There you go. Now, if you haven't already done so, please, please, please let these be your reminders to go home and vote. You can vote online or you can fill out this paper ballot. You fill in this little circle on the back that says vote reform and send it in as soon as you can to the address on the paper. This is important. Please. Now, if you are one of the few who already have successfully voted, you still have a job to do. I want you to hand these out to 2 people who are not here tonight. Take them with you as you go and encourage others to vote reform this week. I'm asking you to become ambassadors, not simply because we need more votes, but because I want each and every one of you to participate and take ownership of this election. Like the Israelites who gave of their time, talent, and treasure to build the Mishkan, we want to give of our time and talents to encourage as many votes as we can, remembering that kol kovea, each and every vote decides our future. So wherever you stand, whatever you believe, show up and be counted in all of these elections, in all of these political systems, in all of these ways, and bring others with you, because every voice counts. Shabbat Shalom. I see a hand. Yes. You should have gotten a confirmation. So you got a confirmation email. And if you got that confirmation email and you forwarded it to me, then I can double check. But that's not necessary. That's only if you want to. Great question. If you vote by paper ballot, there's no confirmation. You just gotta hope you sent it to the right address.